Our next episode is called Devil's Due. It was episode number 87 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and originally aired on February 4th, 1991, written by Philip Lezebnik, from a story by Philip Lezebnik and William Douglas Lansford, and directed by Tom Benko. Now, the episode begins as the Enterprise finds a world in frenzy when it responds to a distress call from an anthropological science team on Ventex 2. 1,000 years ago, the inhabitants made a deal with the She-Devil. In exchange for a millennium of peace, they agreed to give themselves and their planet. The 1,000 years have ended, and the populace believes Ardra will soon appear to claim her inheritance. In their hysteria, people from the planet have attacked the Federation science station. Now, the Enterprise manages to rescue the head scientist, but the rest are taken hostage. Picard beams down to the planet to talk with the Prime Minister. While they're there, Ardra appears and performs several supernatural tricks. She claims she is taking possession of the planet. Picard challenges her and demands to see the contract. In the process, she manages to get the hostages released and orders Data to review the contract and the planet's laws in detail. Back on the Enterprise, Picard discusses options with the senior officers. Now, afterward, Ardra appears on the bridge, claiming that she also owns the Enterprise, since it was in orbit around the planet when she took possession. Now, Data, returning to the bridge from the planet, confirms her interpretation of the contract. So, under orders from Picard, Data finds an obscure precedent in the planet's laws that allows the captain to call for arbitration. Unfortunately, Ardra presents a convincing case, proving her claims according to the planet's legal system. Now, meanwhile, LaForge and the head scientist locate Ardra's power source. A security team from the Enterprise boards Ardra's ship and takes control of her systems. Picard now performs the same tricks as Ardra and exposes her as a fraud. She withdraws her claim as Ventexian guards escort her away, and that is the end of the episode. Now, this episode, ironically, actually, is one of the highest rated shows of the series since Encounter at Farpoint. And whether that's due to the trailer that appeared originally for this episode, it had a lot of special effects in it, whether it was because of the female protagonist, who was played by Marta Dubois, or whether the fact that they just didn't have any basketball games on TV that week. Who knows why the ratings were so high for it, but it did get really high. And this was an episode that had been around for quite a while. For Next Gen, it had originally been looked at in the third season when they were looking for new scripts, and it got pushed into the fourth. But originally, this story came from Star Trek Phase 2, which was a series that was trying to revive Star Trek again after the original series had gone off the air. And this episode was written for it. So they felt like, well, we can just dust this one off and just insert our characters' names into it. Well, this did not turn out very well and didn't look very good under that way of doing it. So they did a lot of rewriting on it. And in fact, a lot of rewriters went into this. Philip Lebednik, who I had mentioned, was doing Wings at the time of this episode. William Douglas Lansford, Lee Sheldon, Melinda Snodgrass, Larry Carroll, Dave Karen, and Michael Piller all had a hand in it. So a lot of writing was done going into this. So that kind of gives it a atypical beginning for it too. And it really kind of feels like an original series episode. You can almost picture Captain Kirk being in this rather than Picard. And for quite a bit of the episode, it does kind of seem like Patrick Stewart is playing more of a Kirk character than Picard. Incidentally, you can find on Wikipedia, if you type in list of Star Trek The Next Generation episodes, and you look up this one, you can find the basic plotline for the Phase 2 version of the series, and it's very interesting. I encourage you to read that and check that out. But this is an episode that was actually nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Costumes for a series. Robert Blackman got that nomination, and he didn't win it. Bill Hargate won it for his work on Murphy Brown in an episode called Ilden Imitates Life. But Blackman actually did go on to win that award the following 2 years for the episodes Cost of Living and Time's Arrow Part 2. So he did get his credit eventually here. And this episode, I remember when it first came on, I think for me what caught me into this was the trailer, because it did look really interesting, and I did think the guest star Marta Dubois was a very interesting actor in it. But I think as time went on, I don't think I felt as interested in it as I used to be. Some people who have re-reviewed this episode thought of it really harshly and felt like the only thing that really gives it any credit is Marta's performance. Everything else was pretty silly. I think it's somewhere halfway in between that. I don't think it's an awful episode, but I don't think it's my absolute favorite of the season either. Just somewhere in between. And yeah, it's just something that's a little different compared to the rest of the episodes of the season. One thought that I kind of had when they exposed that the devil is really somebody who actually has a cloaked ship that's allowing her to perform all these tricks. In part of the trial scene, the devil makes Picard disappear. And I always wondered, wouldn't he have discovered that he is on the ship when he has actually disappeared onto whatever it is? And I don't know if, we have to speculate that perhaps he was beamed out but not beamed back to the ship or what have you. But that always made me a little bit concerned that wouldn't Picard have suspected or kind of felt somehow that he was being transported when this magic trip happened? Kind of just a little nitpicky, I know, but something I always thought about. And we do see at the beginning of this episode another holodeck scene where Data is trying to work on his acting ability, and he's going through the Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens' work. So I thought that was kind of a nice opening that gave it more of a next-gen look as opposed to the actual story. And yeah, I don't have much to say about it besides that. Just kind of an off-the-wall episode from usual next-gen stuff that we get to see. So comment below what you think about this, and I will talk to you guys next time.